I have got a date. It will be so great. Great.
Man, your hair looks really dapper today. That's a nice look.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm going to say a peaceful namaste to you. That's the spirit within us all, is just acknowledging each other, saying, hey, we're like the same thing, bro. My name is Adam.
my name's James. I'm going to say sup. I'm going to say saw, dude. Bring that energy right back.
Hanging 10, bro. Hitting the waves. Crashing big time. Wiping out.
Let's go get a slice, or also known as getting some zaw, dude.
I feel like you were going to say something, and then you stopped saying something, and now everybody wonders what you were saying.
Well, I was being polite.
No.
Me? Go.
We're going to talk today a little bit about time travel. Time travel, what's that, you may ask? Right? Because why would you ask that?
Do we have the technology? Did ancient,
That's what I was going to ask.
pre-ancient,
technology.
prehistoric people
Right, before history.
think
yes.
of time travel? Maybe they lost one of their compagnons, was mauled by a tiger, lion, or bear. And maybe thought, if I were to do that again, I probably would not have filled in the blank. Or is this something that is implicit in the curious mind?
The concept of like manipulating events would come up with like red meme. I think that like magenta and infrared kind of see time as this like cycle, or this. I mean, cycle is common. Magenta is very like, it's all a big wheel.
Why would
Like,
you
well,
need
if
to
we
to
go
different
forward, it'll be the end of days and we'll be off the time wheel. If we go back, that's just going to be more of the same shit. Because
time?
it's
Or the same
eternal.
shit.
I mean, it becomes an obsession at orange meme because it becomes a science concept. We call it skipping our way to answers. You take a little hop and then a big long jump. Two hops. Okay.
And make
Is
sure
that skipping? I don't remember skipping. And as a matter of fact, I had a lot of trouble skipping the other day. It took me like a long time to try skipping on a beat without any practice beforehand. I thought they were crazy in gym class making a skip, but now as an adult, it's like, oh, I really need that. I really need to know how to skip today.
I feel like the yoga folk out there should be able to skip pretty intuitively.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't do gait practice in yoga.
I would like to see HIPAA on a field day. Where do you think they'd go? Somewhere fun.
Yeah, somewhere with water, reeds. They like mud. They like eating little boats. I hear they eat people too.
Not hippos. HIPAAs. HIPAA.
No,
employees,
you said
if there are
hippo.
any left.
You said hippos.
River
Play it back.
horse.
Play it back. He said hippo. Whoa! Is this a Mandela effect? Weird. Somebody changed the time stream. Isn't that crazy? Remember earlier when it was you said hippo, but then like time changed and you actually said HIPAA?
I mean,
I was still talking about the same
recognizing
thing,
that
but
you're in a
you
complete
changed.
alternate dimension.
Yeah, in this one you're
Alternate
wrong.
reality, because you're wrong in this one.
No. Yeah. In this one I'm right.
How's it
But
taste?
in the other one you're still right. In that other dimension.
Yeah.
Dimension X,
feels
Y, Z,
little-
and another X prime, Y prime, Z prime. That's another dimension. Did they think I wanted Dr. Seuss? I said trippy. Dr. Ass Seuss.
It looks like the artist that did Rocco's Modern Life
Yeah.
ran out of marker colors.
Yeshua?
Look, this actually is, we know some things now. This is actual Neil deGrasse's actual platform. This is his online show. We're a little confundled about the 101 thing. I feel like already, all right, Neil. All right. Yeah. 101. Okay. Well, like, what are some advanced topics in time travel? There's just speculation of the sort we're going to do today. Who knows what will happen?
Friggin' time.
Oh, what blind dogs see. All I know is I'll never go back there again.
Let's go. Son of a bitch.
Are we doing a porny? Can it just cover up Neil's face?
Dead center.
Yeah, just have me have it his body with my head on a little TV on it.
We'll see if there is like a TV or something
Don't do
like
that.
or frame
Don't actually
in
do
the
that.
background. We're definitely putting your face in there.
Put me
Okay.
on what's his buddy's name? Jeff? What's the guy's name? Is Jeff gonna be there?
I don't know.
Jeffy. All right, put me on Jeff.
Okay.
Space. Doc.
If controlled backwards time travel was possible today, where do you think your
Jeff.
matter or information would travel? If you were in a third person position observing someone travel back in time, what do you think it would look like?
What the hell?
So I like that, but also just slipped in there, Brian,
okay.
with some mention.
He likes it. Why do you like that? What do you mean from the observer? Which way are they going in time? What kind of question? That's a bad question. You're a stupid person. No more questions out of you.
We have Jeff, who I believe is a comedian. We need to look this up because his face is so familiar.
I'm down. You don't remember him touching his leg and calling him Louie or Jerry or something?
I do remember him from the other video, but I have recognition of his face.
I think we were using his name too.
And I want to say
people we are.
A comic.
Oh, I know what it is. You could get it if you try really hard right now. It starts with the C, and it sounds like sex. Another word for sex.
Coitus?
He's the mouse who has the video arcade pizza restaurant.
Charles Entertainment Cheese?
It's very close, dude.
What do you mean very close? That's Chuck E. Cheese's legal name.
You got it. It's Chuck.
Chuck is his friend's name.
Jeff's name is Chuck from now on.
Is it actually Chuck?
We have to honor his pronoun. It is he calls himself Chuck. He self-refers as Chuck. Can be Chuck now.
Is Star Talk Chuck's show or is it Neil's show?
Wait, why is Chuck here? That's a good question.
Chuck's
why
on it.
Because he's a nice guy and I like him, but
100%.
I'm just like, are you an ex? Are you what is your profession, sir? Are you my friend? Mommy, why is Chuck on Star Talk? Lord Chuck Nice.
Nice.
So yeah, he's a host, comedian. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Comedian. Okay.
He hosts.
I have
things.
seen him before.
Professional hoster of things. Oh, he was a DJ. DJ Chuck Nice. That's how that. Okay, now I like it. Sorry, what was your question, sir?
What the fuck is this? Whose show is it? Is Chuck permanent or he just happens to be on a bit?
No, he often co-hosts.
He is the me of Star Talk.
He's the co-host.
Feel.
Yeah. He's the co-host.
Well, I think it's generous that you call me a co-host. I'm barely fucking animate.
Well, you have the audacity to call yourself a colorman. That's because you're the comedian, and I'm the subject matter expert.
Yes, as you stand stone cold still, I'm the one like,
that's
behind you.
Right. I cross my arms, and you produce
Instant
weaponry.
barbarian behind you. Yeah.
Glad
now we figured that out a little bit.
All right. Enough of Chuck. Jeff, do you guys want Chuck? We'll make a poll. Chuck
I prefer
or Jeff?
to just call him what his name is. Yeah.
Call him what his mama call him. All right, Chuck. Chuck, it'll be Chuck. I'm trying to remember
Chuck
it.
Nice.
You say it a bunch to remember it. Chuck. Chuck-fil-A. Chuck's Bikorama.
This summer with Rob Schneider.
2 girls, a bear, a skunk, a wolf, a blade of grass, 2 cars, the sign that tells you to yield, 2 pieces of a rock that came apart earlier. Space talk.
I wonder if that was a DJ Lord Chuck Nice original.
Yeah, you think he didn't design the groove for the Star Talk?
Maybe.
You think Neil came up with that? What do you think?
Probably
they purchased it?
AI, maybe.
They tried Space Rock and they're like, "Ugh, I don't like this. What is this?"
Like this background behind me, although it is just my living space, it's
blurred
slightly
right now.
Cultivated. I do
Blurry
move
right
things
at the moment.
around. I don't like a lot of clutter back there for y'all, even though I could do what Adam's doing where I completely change my whole background.
No,
I feel it's
never
a
change,
little nostalgic, and you can see the care with periods, the acronym care, and attention paid to the podcast and its evolution through that care of equipment. And I mean, my walls have changed since. It just puts it's a little like Easter egg in our videos. Neil has a very busy background that he has cultivated by just jamming a bunch of stuff within the view of the camera. So Chuck and myself could be roommates looking at this space behind him. I don't think that this is a long-term hotel. I think this is probably...
You think it's like a detached unit at Neil's place?
Like it's a guest house and that used to be a one-car detached garage? Probably not. You could have picked up your mail
Mm-hmm.
You could have put your sunglasses away.
I know.
There's like cellophane balled up. Background cultivation is something. The environment you're in lends credence to what you're trying to convey. Backgrounds matter, bruh.
I guess I'm the kind of guy where if the presentation were lacking and the points were better, I would probably respond to it more than if the presentation was spot on. But if the presentation's good and the content's lacking, then you've lost me. I mean, when it's all polished without like substance, that's a lot of content that like shows up on YouTube, like in normal people's algorithm feed. The simulation has been.
She's in a room with absolutely nothing in it, so you're hearing the reverb off the freshly white painted.
Okay,
walls.
That was a bad example, yeah, because it was like utter shit production. His house was like really dirty. I'd be like, oh, like that's kind of neat. Like he didn't even care. He's just so pumped to talk about.
I think that's where we're at here.
Yeah.
Some of these things have to. There's little way that this amalgamation of shit happened accidentally. There is some lack of care about the background here.
What's with the like flag cake there? What is that? Why is it all rumpled? Like, what's that flag thing? Why isn't it? What is that?
Is it
to
simulate it blowing in the wind?
Oh, I need like a famous painting that has something to do with like the galaxy. Okay. What about Starry Night? Yes, that'll be perfect. I'll get it in a frame and put it right in the center. Like, does this painting speak to you, sir? Are you a fan of the arts?
Obviously.
Like maybe he's a connoisseur.
That probably actually is the original.
And he might have painted it himself, as a matter of fact. Yeah, yeah.
If you were time travel,
what the hell? Who the fuck is this?
Our theoretical physicist.
Wait, I know this guy. Why is he here? Brian Greene? What is this? Rabbits don't lay eggs.
He's a theoretical physicist. He's in on.
He's just here. Okay, I didn't know he was going to be here. It startled me.
Yeah. And look at his background.
Yeah, tell me about his background.
Homogenized and neat, non-distracting. So
empty
even
like
if what you're talking about is boring, they don't have a lot. The viewer doesn't have a lot to wander on and get lost.
They sure don't. And I mean, I don't know. You're being rather generous. I mean, look at the background's kind of like off. Like, why isn't that just a little bit lower or what?
Forget all that noise. It is busy, but it's nondescript. I'm not reading anything. It's not in Lord Chuck Nice's background. There are probably 400 items that I feel like
this dude's gonna operate on me. Like, what's that book about? Why is there only one book? What's in the book? Is that the Bible? What is it? What am I dealing with here? Why do you only have one book? Is that the dictionary? Do you always look
book, or is it the stand of that floating clock face?
His personal diary? Oh, it better not be a stand. It looks like a book.
Anyway.
I didn't know. We gotta set this up. This is our show. We gotta tell people who's on the show.
That's our theory.
You just showed up, dude. I didn't know. I wasn't ready.
You went.
Maybe he's Jeff, dude. Maybe he's Jeff.
Question. God damn it.
I think he's Jeff, actually.
Damn it. It's Brian.
It's Jeff. I knew. I guessed that earlier because he's dopey looking. Hey, Brian.
That's fine. Okay,
he's a rather couldn't it be possible sort of fellow.
I don't think so at all.
Okay, well, we'll see it today on our show.
It's literally in his title, theoretical. The first question was, if you were to travel through time, what would your perception of that travel be?
I think it's from the perspective of the observer of the time traveler.
Yes.
Great question.
No one has answered anything yet.
No.
And
maybe they shouldn't.
But you went, psh. So I paused it and then I railroaded you. Did you have something to say about that?
No, I don't think it's a good question. I think it's a what the fuck are you talking about kind of question. I think Neil's wrong that it's a good question.
Well, I think it's a fine question.
Yeah.
So I like that, but also just slipped in there, Brian, was some mention about information.
Yes.
And that links to entropy, I presume. So if you can tackle both of those in the next 90 seconds before.
Yeah. So look, the only real way to answer that question is to commit to a version of time travel to the past. And the version that I find most convincing involves wormholes. And the idea of a wormhole, I think many people know this idea. It's a tunnel from one location in space to another location in space, a kind of shortcut. And if you move those openings relative to each other, or you put one near a black hole, again, there'll be a time difference between the two openings. So now one opening is ahead, one opening is behind. So you go through the tunnel one direction, you go to the future, you go through the tunnel the other direction, you go to the past. What would going to the past look like?
In the Marvel universe, where you have Doctor Strange opening these portals, he's only moving through space. He's not actually moving through time. Contact, where Jodie Foster goes through this, we presume is a wormhole, to get to visit the aliens, and then she returns. We like the idea that it's like a water slide. You know, you're in this tunnel, you're in this tube, and you're sliding, and it's really just a simple hole. You step through it, right? It's not some journey. Isn't that correct? Because they're basically in the same place.
But you can also have situations where the throat of the wormhole has some length to it. And then again, it would just be traveling through space. It wouldn't.
You're just moving through space backwards in time if the opening of that wormhole is near a black hole where time is ticking more slowly than where you came from.
Or if it was there for a while. Once you set the time difference between the two openings, you can then move away from the black hole because the time difference will then persist.
Wow.
Jesus.
I think what they're saying is wormholes don't go through time, but they can appear to if they're near a black hole. Neil's the guy here who keeps bringing up movies, which is cool. I appreciate that because
it's an easy spoon-fed reference. I've got that one fact you can kind of glue to.
Yeah.
And I've got another one that, if you believe this or understand this, you could probably understand this. Now take this.
We'll have Brian be the scientist. We'll have Neil be the guy that reads comic books. That's fine. Whatever. So,
Chuck is just at the end. Jesus.
We got multiple scientists and an intellectually curious comedian. And can we start this with like what you're saying a wormhole is? And so they describe it. Notice our levels here. What the way they convey a wormhole to us is via magical thinking. It's like a hole. Okay, but there's no actual hole. It doesn't actually move through space. So now it's nothing like a hole. That's what a hole is. It is a hole through space with medium that has cut out so that you can travel through.
Throated hole.
So space isn't an opaque medium that you can't travel through. It's space. So that word hole doesn't make any sense in this context. So the just magical thinking doesn't really work to understand what a wormhole is. A portal. Yeah, that's way better. That sounds like a door, man. We're taking a ship through. They say like visually like nothing happens, but the universe around you must change to another star pattern at minimum, So at some point in your motion, from your perspective, your surroundings change from the old ones to the new ones.
That's what gave me the question of
how does that work?
Duration of travel. Well, you're just traveling through space. Well, if you're traveling at regular spaceship speed, 10,000 miles per hour or whatever, would that not be relative to the amount of time travel you're doing? Because you're not moving very fast, relatively. I mean,
okay, so you're going like 10 miles per hour, and then you cross, and then you're just over here still going 10 miles per hour. I was of the mind they might zip you to like light speed, like you might actually like get zipped.
I'm thinking it would either be instantaneous, like stepping through a doorway. You're on one side, and then you've walked through. You're on the other. You maybe saw a little bit of the rim, or you would perceive it as just traveling through space, and then the distance or time would be relative to how far or long you're traveling. Isn't that just going from A to B?
It's like instantaneous. It's like faster than light. Like
he said no faster. He didn't say anything about speed. He said
there's no speed. Yeah, but the travel is faster. Like the travel is instantaneous because you just are there and then you're there. There's no move. Apparently, it's instantaneous. Like you just are there.
You're approaching the hole and perceiving traveling through space, and then you exit a hole and you're perceiving traveling through space. Is that what you're saying? There's no perception of being inside it.
Right. When he says speed, he just means how long it took you to get from that point to that point. So you didn't travel at a speed. You were going 10 miles per hour or whatever. You're going to go slow or whatever, and you just are there and then you're there. There's no speed, but you can call it speed like in terms of instantaneous travel from a point to another point from a relative perspective.
1100 billion light years per millisecond.
Oh yeah. So what a wormhole enables. By the way, if you manage to travel someplace faster than light, you have the capacity to move backwards in time.
Right.
We've got that established as well. We just don't have any easy way to travel faster than light. But one way that's been celebrated in science fiction, and you can write it out on paper legitimately, is a wormhole. A wormhole. I'm over here, and I want to get there, and I want to get there quickly. I want to get there before the end of the commercial break. Okay, so you can travel through a wormhole that changes the effective distance between where you are and where you're going. And then you sort of look around when you get there and you find, oh my gosh, I've traveled 100,000 light years in a matter of a moment. You have the capacity to move backwards in time relative to when you left. You're in a sort of a different space-time trajectory. So you can't shake hands with yourself before you left. So if that's what you're thinking of doing, no. And by the way, there's a huge paradox that people worry about. And many people, including Stephen Hawking, the late Stephen Hawking, worried whether this paradox would prevent backwards time travel completely. Because if you go back in time and prevent your parents from meeting one another...
I stopped listening when you said, I can't shake hands with myself.
I saw that, yeah. That was really sad. I felt for him. He did so good. He looked so disappointed by that.
I didn't see his face.
Who wouldn't want to shake hands with Chuck, right? Even Chuck wants.
That must have been how he proposed the question, because what a weird fucking... I mean, if you're looking at shaking your hands with yourself on both sides of the thing, if that's what you're after, you're not going to get it.
I feel like what happened was they were answering that question, and then they're like, people aren't going to know what the hell we're talking about. We have to explain what wormholes are, which is like what we were saying. And so then they're like, let's do another question where someone asks like what wormholes are. And I like that he actually made a little picture and he actually outlined it. That was what I was asking for.
A very well done animated Chuck, I think. That was cute.
We both had a reaction to that. So
we recognized who it was. So awesome. What I gather from that is if you want to travel back in time, you would have had to have left that time at that moment. And the farthest backwards you could go is back to that moment. So let's say I move forward in time. I could only go backward in time, even though I, James the man, have lived X amount of years in this forward time. If I want to go back, the farthest I can go is when I left the timeline.
I think it's just like wherever the wormhole puts you down next to a black hole, the time it would take to travel back without a wormhole would be, I don't know, however many years it takes you to travel, however fast you're going back to Earth, and then by the time you get there, now it's like way in the future. I think that's all they're saying. I don't think they're saying that that there's no way, like if there was faster than light travel, or if you had two wormholes, like right, it takes you to the past by the black hole, and then there's another wormhole. Well, would it then shuttle you to the future and taking you back home? And yeah, what happens when you get a wormhole in a wormhole? Ooh, titillating.
Unless you're a field surgeon in the Civil War, 101 is not where you end.
Yeah, they're just introducing like the wormhole concept. That's fine. We have questions.
And here we are.
You cannot go back in time and prevent your parents from meeting each other. Because then you would have never been born to have gone back in time to have prevented your parents from meeting each other.
But that's when you said because, that doesn't actually, that's not logical. Paradox. That's not a logical because. That could happen. You could do that. You could go back in time and prevent your parents from not meeting, and then we don't know what would happen because we don't know how to go back in time. But like if you could go back into the past, then it's like, oh yeah, well you could go back to the past, but you can't mess with your parents. It's like, no, that makes no sense.
Well, anything that would stop your existence would in the future wouldn't happen. So you wouldn't be able to go back in time and stop your existence.
That's one of three hypotheticals. It's the Back to the Future 2 is what we're talking about. It's the ice cream cone drawing, right? Like when you go and change the past, you might create a separate timeline. There's just this one happens and this one happens. When you went back and changed the past, you left the original timeline completely, and it doesn't exist from your perspective anymore. and you can't get it back unless you go back to that root cause, the giving Biff the sports almanac. The actual future after that moment from Marty's perspective is not the same as the one that he started out in. Just like in the first movie, he changed the future slightly, where his dad's like a successful author and Biff is like their handyman or whatever. So he actually did change the future. He just couldn't prevent himself from being born because magic. But like,
I didn't think that. I mean, this is the first time you and I have intellectually spoke about
about anything.
The Back to the Future series. To this very moment, assumed that they were like multiverse. Both things are happening. He was just kind of choosing the timeline he lived in.
They're both happening, but you're in one or the other. So if you're
Right.
in one, the other isn't happening, and if you're in the other. So yeah, it's
Well, that's my
paradoxical.
anti-nihilist theory, where everything exists unless you were there.
Yeah, that's multiverses. That's like every possible outcome happens, but you're not in it.
privy to it.
You're not there.
Yeah.
I think that gets packed out like Rick and Morty or something, where people legitimately think that somehow, some way, these other universes physically exist, like this one does, in the same way. And I think that is where you're making something imaginary into something physically real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think that
Because
they
of
actually
perception?
exist.
If you're not there to perceive it, it didn't happen. The tree following in the woods thing, making
Like,
no
it just
noise.
isn't there in the first. Yeah, there's no woods, there's no tree, and we're in. Yeah, there wouldn't be a sound. There isn't other universes just like this one, where just one probabilistic thing happened differently. If something probabilistic happens, if I flip a coin, I just created a universe where it got tails, and I created a universe where it was heads. But no, I mean, it wasn't actually random. I flipped it in a very exact way so that it would land exactly how it did. It happened that way in every universe because there's only one. Yeah, since it could have been either in our heart, in our imagination, in our thinking brain.
In our purpleism.
Then there's a other universe. But I mean, I think people
There's a
take this
spirit
quantum
world.
theory thing to the point where they think that there really are these other universes. Like when Marty goes back or when Biff goes back and changes the past, and then Marty goes and unchanges the past, that's because they tampered with it. That created a spin-off reality. There weren't existing already an entire rainbow of every possible reality, and they just select a track that they're on. That's that's another competing theory, and I think that that's fantastical. I mean, it's the thing about Occam's razor. Just there's no more stuff than what there probably is. There's probably just this one universe, and if there are other universes, they're probably just way, way beyond astronomical distance according to universe standards away. But same thing, more of the same, just like a big explosion with stuff in it, maybe different rules. I don't know, but it's not like in this time I could do some weird physical manipulation where I could like reach my hand into a version of Earth where James is blue. Like a lot of people think that's like how it is.
The multiverse theory is all-encompassing and simultaneous, and it's molecules and atoms.
This is the kind of like concretization of like abstract ideas that quantum physics people do in it, and it's so this is a peeve. Like this is things I like talking about. Yeah,
Maybe the forces of the timeline care about major events, even in spite of you changing minor events.
So Futurama covered that. On one universe, he gave Leela a diamond scrunchie, and then in another universe, another parallel universe, he got his ass kicked by a dude at a Neil Diamond concert named Scrunchy.
If you could communicate backwards through time, we have a hypothetical particle that does that. You know what it's called? You ever hear it?
No.
It's called the tachyon.
Oh, tachyons. Okay.
Tachyon. And it's, I think it's from the Greek tachos, meaning fast.
Yeah,
and
right.
tachometer. Yeah, the RPMs. So that's a tachometer. So we have this hypothetical part. It's never been observed, but we sort of introduce it. It's called a tachyon. It exists moving faster than the speed of light. And as you may remember, Chuck, as you go faster and faster and faster, your time slows down relative to everybody else.
Right.
At the speed of light, time stops.
Oh.
But what happens if you cross the speed of light? Then time goes backwards, according to the equations. So we are imagining if you could ever accomplish this, time would go backwards for you. So we introduce this particle. It's called tachyons. So now You have a tachyon texting smartphone. Okay?
Right.
You see your buddy slip on a banana peel and fall. You pull out your tachyon text message service. Watch out for the banana peel.
Right.
But the very fact of having pulled out the smartphone and looked at it meant they weren't looking down in that moment, and they slip on the banana peel.
They slip on the peel.
Well, yeah.
Simpsons, South Park, and Futurama did it, calling the past.
Speed of light must stop a thing because it's pure speed, so it's all space and no time, so it's instant. So okay, cool.
This is
and then
pure fucking snow.
yeah, if you go faster than that, then you would be going backwards in time. Sure, you would be doing that. So we call that a tachyon. Okay, a tachyon is but we've never seen one. But if you went faster than the speed of light, that's what it would be. But you can't go faster than the speed of light. But if you did, that's a tachyon. You know, it's like you give it a particle name and it sounds like real, but a particle would technically be going backward in time. But a text message, I mean, you'd have to be made of those particles. You'd have to transform into tachyons at some point. Which
how can you latch something? How can you maybe between two tachyon? If the closer to the speed of light you travel, the slower the object not in motion time progresses. Fact that we know. If you travel the speed of light, time stops. That's theoretical, but logically, yeah, that's where we go.
Yeah.
So let's go faster than something that cannot travel faster than, or even farther, and then put a parcel on that, put some sort of data or package on that. Okay, we're getting farther. And then we could text the past. We're way the fuck over there again. They lured us in. This is something that most scientists understand.
Yeah.
Well, theoretically, if you go fast enough, that would just stop the speed of light. Okay, well, now we're back into theory, proven thing. The logical theory, that would be next step.
Yeah, it's a little
and then
better.
way the fuck over there. Something that we've never seen, that we've thought of. Way the fuck over there.
Yeah. And for all you like theoretical physicists out there, like I will freely admit, like, this is a thing we don't know about, and this is why when we watch shows on science, it's annoying. We would like if something like maybe we just need Kaku in our life, but if a science show like Star Talk would explain, like, why do you think tachyons do exist, though? I mean, is it just an idea, or what would cause the thing to go faster than light? Is it like a particle interaction thing? Is there some? These are the kinds of questions we have, like critical thinking. Is this like when you drop a tennis ball and golf ball touching each other? When the tennis ball hits, the golf ball accelerates beyond its point of release. In the process of getting faster than the speed of light, you would hit the speed of light and you would reach the end of time. From everyone else's perspective, you just zip to the credits. This is more a criticism of pedagogy than actual tachyon theory, because I'm just saying, like, we've watched science videos and the idea of tachyon seems mythological.
You couldn't ever observe it because it's moving faster or slower through time.
It's just like, oh, what if it went 10 times the speed of light? Then we'll call it a droopyon. We've just invented a particle, my friend. We're famous now. It's like,
what else are you gonna name it? Particle 1751b.
Yeah. Ooh, the Latin cred. Nice move. Tachyons. I don't think it should be in the lexicon it shouldn't be a term in the same sense as like photon, where photons certainly are like a thing. Maybe they're not what we think they are, but we're describing something when we talk about a photon, which sounds like tachyon. That it's a different category of thing. Photons refer to something real, and tachyons perhaps don't.
Theoretical or it's quantum physics theory. I don't know what you're hung up on here.
Well, I mean, a theory is accepted. That's what I'm hung up. Is tachyons why is it accepted, or is it accepted, or is it not a theory but just a concept?
It's an accepted conceptual theory.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if that's what it is, then
there's no way to actually prove it through showing it to you. This is science, faith, because the math adds up. Like, the math works out. The probability of it existing is higher than the probability of it not existing.
But if you have math for faster than light, and faster than light is not possible, then there's no credibility to something that just simply cannot be, even if it is mathematically true. I think it's like a hard limit. You just can't go faster than light relative to any other thing. From my perspective, I could never have any awareness of a thing going faster than light. It could only be light. That's like the only thing that we can say, it seems like, about velocity. If you were in a thing going the speed of light somehow, some way, right?
Yeah, we can't not black out at beyond like 9 Gs, but okay.
Yeah, if you were disembodied in a beam of light, you shined it with your disembodied hand. You shined a flashlight from there. The flashlight, from your perspective, would go the speed of light compared to you. Mm-hmm. Like in the same. It's just stupid. It's broken at that point. It's not. That's not true. It's just what happens to thinking about time and velocity when it's taken to extreme levels in a universe that isn't as. It's not as like linear as it appears in terms of time. In our perspective, because we like live in a linear time relative to one another, it seems like really solid. And so we have like all these like kind of ideas like why that makes sense, and that's like relativity. But a thing that goes faster than light is it's in that, it's like in the category of like unicorns versus like zebras, or dodo birds. Dodo birds are like real, but they're not. You can't find one. Pegasuses, they just don't. They can't. You couldn't. They wouldn't.
This is exactly why I love quantum physics, is because you can say whatever the fuck you want,
right?
And there's no proving or disproving.
Yeah. It's like it would be cool to have like an overhaul of as these terms become more popular. I mean, I have to admit, like, we're probably guilty of just like the only reason we actually know what a tachyon is because of science fiction. So I mean, I guess that's like our bad. The vocabulary of physics, like advanced physics, is sort of intermeshed with science fiction in a lot of ways, where like some things really are observed and known, and some things are just kind of like in that speculative terrain where they've given a name to a phenomenon, that just it needed a name. So it's like dark matter. And then science fiction comes out and they're like, this is the planet of dark matter. It's made entirely of stuff that's made of dark matter. And then that becomes our popular concept of it. It's like we just fire a beam of tachyons at the ship and then it goes backwards in time. That's just at first blush. It appears I need to know more about several of these concepts. And probably so do these guys.
You are
an
assassin who kills bad guys who was sent into the past. Mm-hmm. Thereby disappearing.
I don't know what happened in the movie.
And then you kill them and dispose of their body. So they're basically wiped off the face of the earth, as anyone in the future would know or concern. Yep. And then you confront yourself as someone you're supposed to kill, brilliantly played by Bruce Willis. You have an encounter.
Somebody's proud they're learning the drum.
Yourself. And this seems to break some time travel rules. I'm thinking to myself.
Are there time travel rules though? I'm asking you.
No, it's not. You got me.
No, but I'm curious to ask you, would that kind of thing be possible? I mean, is there any indication in any serious science to say that a human could travel from one place on the time continuum and end up in a different place intact with their same human body and brain and
I think there's not, that itself is not the problem. The problem comes about with, as they say, the grandfather paradox, right? Where you go back so that you're never born to be sent back in time to meet your grandfather. Okay. Or so
there'll be some kind of evidence or kind of mathematically backed statement that says this is actually impossible. It'll never happen.
Stephen Hawking believed that we would one day derive either mathematically or experimentally that conjecture. In Looper, you met your future self 30 years hence and had conversations with that person. Yes. And that's just, I don't know if that's allowed. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's definitely not allowed. And look at that. We did it anyway.
Okay.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he's like, could you like name a scenario like where it could be possible to travel back or forward into time? Since I don't know from a physics perspective, could you explain how this could be possible and like I could be intact, and everything would work? And he's like, well, actually, that's the wrong question to ask. This comes back to the grandfather problem. The problem isn't that we can't travel back in time. The problem is that there would be a paradox. It's like, no, you're wrong, Neil. The problem is that you can't travel back in time. The grandfather paradox comes way after the fact of time traveling.
He kind of
what
did
an
say
asshole!
that.
What a fucking dick!
He admitted that when he said Hawking on his deathbed said, You will eventually get to the point where
Yeah,
you understand that it is not possible.
It is not.
So you're working on a unsolvable equation.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that he's poo-pooing Joseph's question by saying that the grandfather problem is why
It's
it
the
can't
larger
happen.
problem.
But before the grandfather problem happens, it's the problem that we can't travel back in time at all, which is what Joseph was asking. Neil. It's like you said, he needed to talk about the grandfather problem. So whatever Joseph asked, he was going to segue to what he wanted to talk about, and in so doing, put the other person down for not knowing where he was going.
Because you've got these
with what he
two
was saying.
things, and then the third thing that I want to talk about is way over there, and I'm going to loosely connect.
No, I agree with you. I've warmed up to him a lot because of what you're saying, and you're right. He's just like a weird old guy, but I think my criticism stands, and I continue to be like, okay, you can't get away with acting that way because here's why, because it's irresponsible to teach science in this way. But it's not personal anymore. It's just kind of funny.
I think he did the same thing in the very first clip. I think he did the same thing to Brian Greene, where he's like, no. You're talking about this. We're going to talk about this, and here's why that doesn't matter. He's talking to another
one,
well-known scientist, so he doesn't need to build the mechanics through loose association. The other guy knows the mechanics, maybe better, maybe the same, but at least equal to, and still pulled the same sleight of hand magician trick of, we're going to talk about what I want to talk about. I don't think you're mad. I think you're jealous.
I'm jealous of his being.
I think you wish you were that manipulative of situations, like a conversation ninja.
Yeah,
I'm going
I really
to change
envy
the topic so not eloquently. But
I really envy people who just yell over everyone and constantly have a bad point and don't care what they're saying. Well,
he yells. I said, "Why are you shouting?" It's because he's getting excited and he's projecting a little more.
Yeah, that is nice.
He's not talking over the other person. He's convincing the other person that what he needs to talk about is better, and so he does it in such a way that the other person just goes like, "Oh yeah, you know what?"
I don't think that happens in nature. I think that happens because he's in a hosted platform where they're expected to behave that way. I mean, I think people challenge him. Like when he goes on like talk shows, they challenge him, and it's really, really awkward. It gets. I mean, he's pretty offensive. I mean, like that stuff you watch it happen to other people, and you're like,
this is his show.
Okay, well, this is a little funny.
Yeah.
But if it happens to you, it's like really upsetting when someone talks to you like that. I mean, he's really belittling to like all these professional scientists and stuff, and they're just kind of that's you, that's how you talk, I don't know.
That's just Neil.
Kind of condescending.
On his show. Yeah, I'll go back to being a successful scientist where I can do that to other people.
Brian Greene, I don't think he's as much of an influencer as he is like a guy who writes books about like theories of science. And Neil is more of a host, I feel like. I mean, it's more of his bread and butter, and that's like more of why.
I think he learned it from Sagan, as Carl Sagan's protege, of how to turn this wheat field of really complex, really hard to conceptualize information into bread that the common person can eat. And in doing 100%. So, you have to make a bunch of big leaps.
So we're all used to things in the past affecting things in the future, but if time loops around, then the future actually can affect the past. So the danger in a theory, and one of the diagnostics we use to see if a theory is healthy, is to make sure it doesn't have any of these closed time-like curves.
This is a philosophical bias you are implementing on the universe itself.
It's a little bit more than philosophical, because you want the unfolding of events to be internally consistent.
You're saying you want something to be true in the universe. This sounds like you're begging.
Let me just say, God needs it to be that way, right? Because if the laws of physics yield inconsistent results, then everything falls apart. Everything.
No, we just live in an inconsistent universe. No. What it means is our understanding is messed up. Clearly, the world makes sense. No. Do you think one day we'll have a machine that'll just send us forward in time? We know it's possible, but why aren't we doing it actively?
Well, I think we do have a machine in principle, right? Because every time you go into a vehicle and you undertake a round trip journey, you are traveling into the future.
By some calculatable amount.
Yeah, a billionth of a second or something like that.
Into the future.
Into the future. But if you found yourself in a ship that was going near the speed of light, you go out for 6 months, you turn around, you come back, you will have jumped into Earth's future. And that is what we mean by time travel.
The faster you go to the speed of light, the slower time moves, correct?
That was weird at the Comic-Con thing. It seemed like they were like going to debate and then they just started doing like education again. I was kind of excited to hear that debate. Sagan doesn't offend me. He's got like a good personality. So I'm like, Sagan, good show. Like it's a good show. I enjoy it. Carl comes off as like very respectful. Like I feel like Carl like gives you the dignity of like, oh, you're curious about that subject and that's reasonable. Where Neil is just like, oh no, you think you have these assumptions, but that's the thing about the way you're thinking is it's all messed up. It's like it's really
you're asking
like
the wrong question.
Yeah, I think that when you are that science guy, that's kind of what you're supposed to do is be like appealing, like is be
approachable,
make people feel welcome to this kind of discussion. Like in another context, that would be appropriate. Like he didn't get back around to Joseph Gordon-Levitt's question. He just bulldozed over it. Like this movie star. Like what the fuck, dude? I guess all these guys don't mind it. I do. He's like my awkward family member that I actually like spend less time with and don't like engage with because he's like
gonna talk about
rude.
What he wants to talk about. Yeah,
he's rude. He's rude.
Even if you say, "Hey, I don't agree with you there. We can agree to disagree. Let's talk about something else." Like, well, no, you're gonna agree with me.
In Interstellar, they had Matthew McConaughey interacting with his timeline. So the premise was you go into a black hole and you have access to these higher dimensions. But starting back in ordinary life, we have 3 dimensions that we're familiar with. On a grid, you might think of it as
higher dimensions.
What street in New York, what street, what avenue, and what floor in a building that you might meet someone. These are 3 coordinates that you would give. Remember, however, that anytime you've ever made an appointment to see someone, not give a time without a place. Nor would you give a place without a time. So the actual coordinates to meet someone require 4 numbers. Basically, 4 coordinates, 3 space coordinates, and 1 time coordinate. The idea that we live in 4 dimensions should not be surprising to people. We take it for granted, actually. I can access all points of my 3-dimensional space, yet I am a prisoner in the present. If you go to a higher dimension, it's not unrealistic to think that you step out of the time dimension.
Why are you shouting?
And now you look at time as though we look at space. Statements that we make about our lives make no sense in that higher coordinate system.
Higher.
You can ask, when was I born? Well, you were always born. When did I go to college? You're always going to college. When did I die? You're always dying. If your whole timeline is laid out in front of you, then you have access to it.
In front of you.
Jump in at any point, relive it. We don't know yet if you can interfere with events that, quote, have already happened. If your whole timeline is just already there, what does it mean to jump into it and then change something if it's already there?
This is irresponsible. I don't like that. You're a scientist. Okay, you're literally saying, okay, we got X, we got Z, and we got Y. Y is up and down, which means higher and lower, which is to say in dimensional terms, up is higher. So when you talk about higher dimensions, you're talking about higher in your Y dimension, on your Y axis. The word higher should not be used for that. It's the wrong word to use.
I think he's talking about in numeric dimension.
What?
2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions. Now those dimensions are getting higher
5, 6.
On the like tally scale.
Higher in the count.
Yes.
But there's no diagram of it because it doesn't exist. Like it's not a physical concept.
I knew that the last thing that they were going to talk about in this video was Interstellar, and I was excited. Almost a supporting character in the movie is gravity. They say the only thing that is reverse and forward in time and is always the same thing is gravity. Gravity is the only thing that transcends time.
That's like the heart of the like irresponsibility with the word dimension. You're immediately imagining a dimension in 3-dimensional space. This is incorrect. That's not what a dimension is. And he's doing it, right? Like, oh, if you go into one of these higher dimensions, these bigger dimensions, then maybe you could stand apart from the time dimension and see it as the same kind of dimension as X and Y. But time does not have the same character as X, Y, and Z. We call it a dimension because it works with them as though it were one of them, but it has a different character. It doesn't go in directions the same way that directions do. It just like passes. We use a different word for what it does.
It
doesn't have like
dimensions are a physical point on a map where time is perspective.
They're both relative, right, to a perspective. Like but starting, with a ground perspective, the perspective is fixed in its movement in time.
Well, perspective is you. You are perspective.
I mean, scientists can assume that stuff's there that they can't perceive, but they can't assume that stuff's there that they shouldn't reasonably assume.
Perception, what I'm saying, is the experience of being in it, not just sight, not just saying, oh, there it is, but all of your 100 million senses taking in is perspective, is perceiving.
So in that sense, we have 3 dimensions in time, which is dimension-like, or 4 dimensions. You can do geometric experiments that play around with more dimensions because it's a thing you can kind of do mathematically, 9th, 10th dimensions and stuff like that. I think it's kind of what you see is what you get in terms of dimensions. When you program Mario 64 and you program the physics engine, nothing goes wrong because you didn't implement the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th dimensions. It all still just works fine because that's what reality is. Here's one I play around with a little bit. So okay, like you're going at the speed of light, time effects, right? Because relative. Okay, that's in a direction, right? What if you're going in a circle?
It's irregardless. It is going in a circle, like he said with the satellites. They're orbiting Earth at an incredible rate.
I mean, they are going in a circle. They're going in the tangent, not tangent, perpendicular to the Earth, but then they're falling as well. Yeah, so it makes a circle. Falling. But I'm talking about thrusting so that it creates a circle so that you don't end up really, really far away from where you were trying to travel in time.
You mean just a really, really tight circle?
Yeah, like you're not just going speed of light in one direction, you're applying whatever thrust gets you to the speed of light in multiple directions. Closest speed of light this way, but slightly close to the speed of light on the back end. So it's giving you this twirl. Mm-hmm. Okay, so am I time traveling twice over now? You get me spinning so fast that at my arms I'm going the speed of light.
Okay.
Well, I mean, obviously I fly apart, and then like every couple of increments I die in a different way.
That's
a ship spinning like a saucer.
Thorn in the lion's paw is being able to record any of this either through our biological computers or synthetic computers. What's going to withstand that? I mean, there's nothing that exists.
No.
There's nothing that we can create that would withstand those sort of stresses.
That's like the soft problem. That's like a tech materials. If it were possible, then it's like, well, it's impossible to engineer, but you could do it if there was some substance that could withstand acceleration to the speed of light.
So let's say we're in the vacuum of space. So there isn't friction against our side. Whatever got us to the speed of light would also have to slow us down from the speed of light. There's an instantaneous G-force accelerating, and then an instantaneous whatever opposite G-force is, maybe it's still G-force, decelerating. It would take 1,000 years to get to the speed of light, and then another 1,000 years to get you back to something that we could go and collect.
Which is really, really long because of how fast you're going. We've been your happy, furry pleasure friends today, and we're saying namaste to you. Don't you forget about that old like button and that subscribe button, and leave us a comment. And feel free to hop onto that Discord if you want to have some discussions with other people like us and yourself.
Right.
Eat snacky s'mores.
Are you wearing a Cobra Kai gi?
No, it's just it's a Vim and Vigor vest, and it makes.
Oh, that's the one. Okay. Well.